Maybe I hit the button too early. Sorry. Mm, I haven't eaten today, so I'm literally snacking right now. Um, so I just happened to throw one of these like little energy balls in my mouth, made up of hazelnuts, chocolate, dates, coconut milk, and coconut oil. Whatever, delicious. Um, so I've clearly never done this. Um, there's so many people right now I see on Instagram that, first of all, anybody that pops on and says "Hi, mijo," much love. Um, Madre 59, what's up? Um, and someone said, "I don't. We didn't go to school together, but I live in Dalton, Georgia." What's up, Dalton, Georgia? Um, Vanessa, how you doing? Good to see you. We probably graduated at the same time. Hold on a second. Let me get. I'm trying to see all the comments in one place from all the platforms, if that's even possible. I don't know. Hello from Omaha, Nebraska. What's up? Um, so I promise I'm not going to like eat the entire time, but I am going to tell you I have to eat in order to get through this because because I worked out today and I didn't make sure. Yo, 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 you do it. What's up, man? It's so cool because we live in that day and age where you feel like you know people just based on their handle. Um, right? Like I see people's handle and I see the little profile picture, and I'm like, "What's up?" Good afternoon from Chicago. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Vanessa, I do it. Yeah, yep, German. That was my boy from Michelle. You were too kind. Talking about I'm adorable and hilarious. Well, thank you. Um, he said my gift's gonna hit 100 million views today. What? What does that mean, man? What do you mean your gifts are gonna hit 100 million views? I mean, whatever that means. I mean, starting to age myself. Like, what does that mean? Whatever that means. Congratulations. I mean, anything hitting 100 million views is pretty incredible. Um, but that's awesome, man. Little Rock, Arkansas, what's up? Um, I'm literally, this is all the live is going to be about. Just me saying a shout out to like where people are from. It's not, but I feel like it should be. Yo, thank you guys for those gifts I make and share. They all added up to 100 million views. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I didn't know you made gifts. So is it gifts? Is it gifs? Is it what is it? I don't know. But I didn't know you made them. But that's badass. D- Drop a link where I can find them, so that way I can start sharing them too. Because I like using gifts. I saw one the other day. I sent one to somebody, a friend of mine. He said something to me, and I was looking for a particular one. There's the last one. There's no more. So This is the last time you're going to hear me munching on some stuff. But I sent a GIF, whatever, to my friend, and I was like, "How cool is it? It's actually of somebody I know that I used to work with, an actor." And I'm like, "Yo, I feel like you make it when you become a GIF, if it's a good thing, right? You don't want to be like a bad GIF." But yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining. Um, man, let's get right into it. We're like 6 minutes in, and I was trying to keep this thing short just to not waste everybody's time because I know people are busy. We got a lot going on in our lives, and um, got to get back to our day. But I just, listen, I'm in a, really interesting phase in life right now where, for the first time, I would say in probably 8 years, at least as of now, this all could change. But as of now, for the first time in like 8 years, I am not juggling a bunch of things at once. Um, if you, I mean, I know I don't post the most and consistently and let you guys inside my world consistently, but obviously for the past, 8 years, I've been going to school, I completed it. Was that last year? Yeah, that would have been last year. I graduated, got that done, which was great. But I mean, for any adult learners, you understand how taxing that is, how much that consumes you, and just trying to find balance to do all of those things. It's a lot. And when you are an adult learner with responsibilities and a lot of different things you have to navigate. I mean, it's a lot. So school by itself was uh, a big task thrown on my plate. I started coaching my daughter in softball, which we went from rec ball and then went to select ball, and that just took up a lot of time for anybody that is part of any sort of club, travel, sport in general. You understand how much goes into that. And then had another child. My son is 3 now. I was doing a podcast. I was doing speaking, obviously in person, but then during COVID, virtuals, just a lot of stuff, just navigating it. And in some cases felt like I was doing way too much and I probably wasn't doing it efficiently and wasn't doing it the best of my ability. And, just realized, all right, it's probably time for me to take a little bit of a step back, and sort of regroup and stuff. And so I'm in this interesting space in my life right now where I don't right now have the podcast going. And I stopped that about a year and a half ago, because I was like, you know what? I need to pause this and I need to regroup when I can really put a lot of energy into it, because I felt like I was doing it to some degree. I enjoyed the conversations and I loved the people that I was able to, learn more about their stories. But I felt like I was doing a disservice to the conversations that I was getting to have. It's like a weird squeaky noise. Getting to have with people. And so I don't have the podcast right now. I'm obviously not in school right now. From a speaking standpoint, I got, as of right now, one date that I'm traveling for the rest of the year. I got one virtual and one in person in Austin. So that's going to be great. And that's it. And I'm not coaching anymore. I'm actually just, things happened, and I'm going to be a dad now, and I'm just going to like focus on my kid and celebrating my kid and helping my kid improve and, continue to grow for her, her love for the game of softball. And so I'm in this, my daughter's 12 and she's in school and she's pretty much, an autopilot. My son's 3 and he's going to school every day, and he's, and so I don't know. I just kind of feel like I'm in this space where I'm just trying to figure out who I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to be, just kind of figure out where that next step in life is. But something that was on my mind, and I'm going to try to do these more frequently. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to. I got a little bit more time on my hands. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this is one, I just love connection. I love, connecting with people. I love, being able to have conversation with you guys. You guys have followed me, whether it's for a long time or just recently, but I just appreciate you guys following me. And it's always nice to be able to connect. But, one of the things, I was recently, it's been a crazy summer, which I don't even know for a lot of you. My daughter just started school, seventh grade, which is wild. Seventh grade. It's insane. And half of these damn kids are, if not, they're definitely taller than my wife. And they're pretty damn close to being taller than me. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, I'm not even like, I'm 5'9". I like, that's not even like a lie. Like, I'm 5'9". I'm not rounding up. I'm legit, 5'9". And yet these kids are like already like 5'8". 5'7", 5'5". I'm like, how does that even happen? But it's been a crazy summer. It's been really busy. I had a lot of in-person events that, caused me to travel a little bit. And then, got this really cool opportunity where I took my daughter to one of my events in California, went to a Dodgers game, and she got to see me speak for the first time in a while. Usually there's conflicts or she's not able to tag along because she's in school. And so she was able to like come and hang out and experience that. And it was really nice to have these moments where you're speaking and you're looking at all the people, and then you look at the front row and you're like, that's my daughter right there. That was personally, that was a great feeling for me. And then we went to Disney. We did a big old family trip to Disney with another family. And I don't know, life has been busy. And I've been marinating on something. I had an experience where one of my speaking engagements, actually in Florida, after I was done, I stepped off of the stage, and I've evolved in my speaking from a space where, predominantly what I did was just talk a lot about my injury years. I mean, I'm talking about a decade and a half ago, to the point where now, like, there's other things that I'm incorporating. Good luck to your daughter this school year. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And she said to me that my daughter said to me, she's like, we were watching the Olympics. This is like last week. And she said, so in 2020, it's the next one, right? I said, yeah. And she says, okay. She's like, wait, I'll be a junior in high school. And I was like, first of all, don't even say that. Like, don't do that. Don't do that to me. Right. Like, what? Like, just trying to process, or a sophomore. I don't know what she's going to be. But the point is, she's going to be way too damn grown for me to be ready to embrace that. But anyways, back to the speaking engagement. So, I step off of the stage and, people come up to me. I take off my mic, and usually, like, I'm out of there. Like, I'm at a stage now where I'm like, can I fly in right before and can I leave right after? And it's not that I don't like interacting with people. I love people. I love interacting with people. But one of the things that I've learned is that, one, I'm just in a stage of life where I just want to be home, and I just want to enjoy that time that I can be. Hey, Crystal from Oklahoma, what's up? I always see you post and stuff, and just nice to see another burn survivor on. But it's also like, I've learned over the years that when I'm done with events, it's beneficial for me. And I don't know any other way to say this than just gonna speak. So I love people. I love interacting with people. But for 45 to 60 minutes that I'm on a stage, I give you everything that I have. I give you everything that I have. And I speak from the heart, and I speak authentically. And yes, I prepare. And yes, there's a process that I go through, but I just give you everything. And when I step off of the stage, sometimes I have to protect my energy, and because I'm essentially at a low. And part of the reason why I like to, like, just bail out and just get to the airport and fly home is because it's a way for me to protect and take care of myself, protect my energy, protect myself. Um, but every now and then there's circumstances outside of your control where you end up running into people and talking to people, and you realize that those individuals are not just trauma dumping, not just, you know but they're giving you the very thing that you need. They're giving you life, they're giving you energy, they're giving you a lot of this positive stuff. And so, I recently had that experience after a speaking engagement where I stepped off the stage and I'm taking off my mic and I'm trying to get out of there before they break out of, go into a breakout session. And then everyone's like in the hallway and people start, pulling me in different directions. And because I got a flight to catch. And people came up. And there's like probably a line of like 20 people or so. And some people would, stand in the line and then were like, oh, it's taking a little bit longer, and they would trickle off and, and go take advantage of the downtime that they have before the next thing. But what I took away from this line of people was, it was really interesting that, like, how people were coming up to me, and there were all different types of people. Like, you had one man come up to me and, he's talking about how he lost a child and how he's navigating that. Which, I mean, I'm not going to say I understand it, because I have not experienced it as a parent, but I've been around people. My mother lost a child. My wife's younger sister unexpectedly passed away. I've met other people. One of my neighbors. Like, I mean, it's just, you just realize, unfortunately, so many people that have experienced that pain. And but he says that to me. He says, I lost a child, and he's navigating that pain. And we talked for a little bit, and we take a photo, and then he moves on, and the next person comes up, and it's this older gentleman, and he talks about how he's actually leaving the conference to go meet up with a buddy he served in the military with, but he hasn't seen him for like 40 years. And he's about to go hang out with them for a few days for the first time in X amount of years, right? Those 40 some odd years. And he's emotional and he's choking up, and he's like, I know he's been struggling. We've talked over the phone. We just haven't been able to make it work to see each other in person. Then you had a lady come up to me who, just sort of her posture alone just made you feel like this woman is she's got it all figured out, right? Like, she just feels like she's confident, commanding. And as we're talking, she's telling me, she's like, I needed to hear the things you shared today, because, and she says, I'm going through some shit right now. And I was like, and she didn't elaborate what that was, but she's just talking about, life right now and the stage she's in. And all I'm doing is just listening to this. And then a mother comes up to me and she's like, my child is in the military. No, two of my kids. She says, two of my kids are in the military. They're both overseas. And she said that her kids told her, you got to listen to this guy, J.R. Martinez. And then, so when she looked at the program, she said, look who's going to be one of our speakers. She sent it to the kids, and the kids were like, you got to take a picture with them. So she's, talking about, from a mother standpoint, from a parent standpoint, navigating her children that are in the military. And, you understand what comes with that. Even if we're technically not in a time of war, it doesn't matter. Like, there's always a possibility of something. And there's always dangers related to that. So, you don't dismiss it just because we're not declared in war right now. But she's telling me about that. I get another burn survivor that comes up to me, is talking about, her journey, and there were so many more. And I'm just sitting there like, as I left and I'm in the car and I'm going to the airport, all I could think about was like, man, everybody is going through something. Everybody. And what I'm going through is not going to be on the same level of what someone else is going through right now. Susan, I know I'm going to come to Connecticut one of these days, Susan. Susan, my wife said the other day, she said, Susan, and I'm not going to say your last name just because I'm going to, protect I don't want people to be like, who's he talking about? But she was like, she's always commenting on our stuff. She's always showing us love. And yes, and I appreciate you for that, Susan. And hopefully I come to Connecticut. I have been to Connecticut. I have spoken there, but it's been a while. If I do, I'll reach out to you. Just know that. Because you've always been a big supporter. But it just everybody is going through something. And it was that reminder of when you look at people and you think like the lady, like wow, everything is good in her world, right? Just based on the way she carried herself, based on her appearance, everything is good, everything's great, her life is fantastic, right? And then you realize, oh wait, no, there's some things she's going through. This man, like, oh, he looks pretty stern and looks like, well, he's going through something. It just, again, just a reminder to just, I guess, always for me and for all of us to just give grace to people, because we all have to remember that we're all just human beings, just really just trying to not just trying to go from a place of where we're not just surviving, but we're actually thriving. And for the people, and then I recently did on Instagram, there was like a post where, people were sharing some of the things that they were navigating right now, which I'm going to pull it up just so I can read off. I'm not going to read off people's names, of course, but just read off some of the things that people were saying that they were navigating right now. Finding a new job from a recent organizational layoff. Just sending you so much love through that, because I know that is tough. Someone said homelessness, being cancer free. That's congratulations. That's great. A trade apprenticeship, staying happy all the time and enjoying life to the fullest. A lupus diagnosis. Someone said divorce. Someone said full-time job, parenting a teenager, going back to school at age 38, depression. And then someone said life as always. And then someone said getting my health back, being sick is depressing. And those are only a few of the comments that I received, that I read, that I received from that post that I made. And you just realize, man, like everybody is going through something. Everybody is navigating something. And we have to be willing to be able to show up for each other. So I'm a human being and I have my moments, but I try to remind myself when someone does something or snaps or says, or whatever, you have to like realize, okay, that person's going through something. And unfortunately, in this moment when this person and myself have connected, have crossed paths at this intersection of life, I just received a little bit of this stress of everything that is being laid on this individual at this time. And that's a lot. And but as far as like, how do you navigate all this stuff? People frequently ask me the question of like, how did you overcome? How did you manage to still show up every single day? Even now, right? And I think one of the biggest things that I think we have to practice is this element of, you got to celebrate little victories. You got to find those little things. And and sometimes when life feels incredibly overwhelming, and when you focus on the big picture, like the macro vision, like the big thing that's going on in my life right now, it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to see that, to feel like as if, oh, there's no positive outcome that's going to come from the situation that I'm currently in. And if you focus on that, all it's going to do is continue to just dig the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're going to find yourself just being consumed by that thought. And where your focus goes, your energy follows. So guess where your energy is always going to be? Guess what kind of energy you're going to show up, what type of energy you're going to be putting out, what type of energy that people are going to be receiving from you. And in that moment, I think the biggest thing that people have to learn to do, and this is what worked for me, is I had to eliminate this overwhelming thought of long term, of like what my life is going to be even 3 months from that point, 6 months from that point, 5 years from that point. I had to essentially pivot and look at this moment, the micro, the now. And what can I be grateful for? What are some victories that I'm experiencing on a day-to-day basis? And when you start to sort of reroute your focus, recalibrate, pivot, whatever. It's like, we have a 3-year old, and Leo, he gets in his moments where all of a sudden he loses his mind. And I hear someone said, I needed to hear this right now. Thank you for sharing. Of course. And I think that's why I want to start doing this more frequently, because um all of us have things that we could be sharing with one another. And but Leo, is a toddler, right? What do you expect with a toddler, right? Like, I mean, yes, you can understand each other only to a certain point, but at the end of the day, he's a toddler. And sometimes the best way for him to communicate is to, like, I'm upset. Either I'm, crying, or I'm mad about something, like whatever. So he expresses that. That's how his body, his energy follows, and it turns into like a bunch of this or tears, or whatever. And as an adult, you're like, yo, chill out. But then you realize the best thing to do is pivot. Like, where's the focus go now? Pivot. That's the biggest thing. Pivot your focus. And so it's like reroute, and you're like, all right, well, Leo, look, what is this? Why is this on this tree? What is this called again? And all of a sudden he's like, oh, that's a leaf. And all of a sudden now what he was experiencing is no longer there, because the focus is now somewhere else. The energy is going to follow that. And so you have to approach, when you're going through a lot of the things that, we're all navigating in this world, you have to celebrate these little things. You have to focus on the now, this moment. And you can still have this thought process of what I want my life to become. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be a balance. And I think everyone's trying to navigate this whole balance in this world. But for me, I think what I've learned that has allowed me to navigate when I'm going through something that's difficult, that's unpredictable, that feels overwhelming and hard, is to just, hey, let me celebrate some small victories. And listen, I have there's a whole document of where I've been sitting around the last, week or so, just kind of running my mouth. And, me and my team, like, we've been sitting down and writing all these thoughts that I have. And there's going to be another conversation where I'm going to talk about how the difference between hope and being optimistic, hopeful and optimistic, right? I think a lot of people bring me into groups because they're like, man, like, we want you to give our people hope. And I'm like, all right, yeah, hope is this, optimism is this. People also want me to come in and talk about resiliency. Okay, but how do you become resilient? And I start really expanding on that. So these are the type of conversations that I want to have, because these are things that are in my heart, that are on my mind. To everybody that has shared, and to everybody that hasn't shared but is going through, is being consumed, I just want you to just pause and take a little bit of time and recalibrate your brain, and just think about, what you choose to celebrate, what you choose to focus on, and say to yourself at the end of the day, man, there is something positive, there is something good that is coming from the situation that I'm currently in. Because when you're going through it, it's hard to see that, but when you pause and you reflect, then you're able to identify those things, then you're able to discover those things. And that's where the opportunity, then that's where you start to evolve and get to a point where you can look at a situation that you're going through and say, okay, I'm going through something right now, but I'm actually learning something, or I'm gonna learn something from this situation that I'm currently going through. So you start to evolve and get to that point. And that's the space that we all want to be in, where it doesn't mean that when things present themselves in my life that are challenging, that I don't sit here and like process them and grieve them. Absolutely, I do. I'm a human being. But then I'm able to quickly like pivot and go like, all right, cool. There's something I should be taking away from this. There's something I'm going to be learning. So let me, I know, I start looking for that, and I start paying attention to that. And I think that when you're able to recalibrate and move your thought process to that place, then you're able to see the other things that are around you, that are blessings, that are helping you navigate, the space that you're currently in. So, you know, life has been busy, and as much as I try to jet out of events when I'm done, that was one of those moments that maybe those individuals needed to talk to somebody. They needed to share, with somebody what they're navigating. Um, But as I think about it, I'm like, I needed that too. I needed that interaction. I needed that connection. I needed people, I needed to hear what those people were, were going to share with me, because one, it's a reminder to me that what I'm doing is, it's my little contribution to the world. For me to get on stage, for me to share a little bit of my life and what I've learned and what I'm navigating. It's my way to give back to the world. And, I think I've learned a few things and I'm still learning. And a lot of that learning comes from conversations that I get to have with a lot of you, conversations that, I get to just sit back and just listen to. And that's something that conversation for a long time, I used to believe that a conversation consisted of, let's say me and another person where we both speak 50% of the time. And yet that's been recalibrated because now I'm like, it's changed my thought process. Well, now I look at it and I'm like, no, a conversation can still consist of one person speaking maybe 80% of the time. And I only speak 20, but I listen. I listen for the majority of that time. And that is probably one of the most powerful ways to have a conversation. So I don't do it perfectly in my life. It's definitely something I still work on. We all get excited and we all want to be part of a conversation and we all want to jump in and we all want to share what we've been through. But it is nice and it is a good practice for all of us in the mix of having conversation with people to just kind of let people speak, let them share, let them have the mic for a bit, and we could just practice being human beings and just showing up. So I mean, unless people got questions, I mean, that was essentially what was on my heart. And when I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing these lives, and I think this first one I wanted to consist of this topic and what I've recently experienced. That's what was on my heart. But I plan on doing a lot of these. I'm trying to see, um, like, there's some questions on here. Hello from Colorado. Loved you on All My Children. Thank you. That was a fun time. Missed that show though. Yeah, there's some questions on here. I'm trying to navigate it all, but, I might have to like when I log off, I might have to just go back and screen grab these questions and then circle back and circle back for the next one. So actually there's one. Needed to listen to you and hear all this today. I'm learning even more from you right now. Thank you for doing this today. God bless you and your amazing family. Thank you for all. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, on that it's a great opportunity to just wrap this thing. And so for those of you that popped in, uh, good stuff. If they want an episode of, so I got Doug Gap Road. Oh man, I know Doug Gap Road. So yeah, so what's up, JR? What's up? Can I get a shout out from Toronto? What's up, Toronto? So somebody said, ask people if they want to hear stories, all my children's stories. Not that I have that many. 3 years. I mean, there's a few. Hello from San Antonio. What's up? But yeah, so listen, I think, I'm in this really cool, fun stage of life where I think, and I'll wrap with this. For a very long time, when I would get to this stage of my life where I didn't have 50 things going on, I would start to like panic a little bit and get a little anxiety and be like, oh my God, life is passing me by. Because we're all just force fed this narrative that we got to go, 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 go. And if we all buy into it, I get it. And over time, you start to kind of have these experiences, at least I did, where I'm like, oh, that doesn't serve. There's a time and place for that. There's a period for that serves me. There's other areas of my life where that does not serve me. And I equally need, no different than they say, you have all these hours in the day. but then suggested you should try to get this much rest at night. Well, I realized that the rest at night, it comes in different periods of your life where there isn't as much going on. But does that mean that, okay, now I start to like stress and get anxiety about the fact that I don't have a million things on my plate? No, what it simply means is um, that I'm going to utilize this time. There's a reason that I've been given this period of my life where I can just slow down a little bit. There's a reason why. And there's something that I should be focused on. Something. So I'm going to be doing a lot more writing just from things that I've experienced even today, still experiencing today, to things that I have experienced since my only book was written. So there's just, I'm going to revisit the podcast. I'm going to revisit the entertainment space and see what opportunities are out there. I miss it, and so I want to get back into it. You know what? I know I said I was going to wrap, but this is a great question. JR, a quick question. Does life get easy or harder over time? That's a great question. So listen, I think and hold on, there's a follow up. And can you speak on this? Yeah. So I think what gets, I haven't seen you since Camp Cope. Yeah, what's up? Serene? Um, Man, I'm like kind of going back, like it's like a high school reunion right now. And I didn't even go to high school with, but I just know a lot of people on here, and I'm like, what's up? So does life get easier or harder over time? I think we don't know what the future holds, right? Um, but I think what gets easier is the way that we condition ourselves to respond, if we're willing to do a lot of that work to where and I don't want to bleed into like another conversation, because then it's going to turn into another hour of me running my mouth, which, listen, I can do. There's no problem with me running my mouth. There is a reason. Listen, it is in my DNA to be a talker. If you went to high school with me, if you know me personally, you know that I run my mouth nonstop. So I can keep this thing rolling, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say this. So there is a point in life where when you evolve from becoming hopeful and just hopeful that things work out, to where you're able to become optimistic. And I believe that there is a difference between the two. Hopeful is truly what the definition of hope is. I hope. There is no evidence, there is no data, there is no information for you to be hopeful. You're just a lot of wishing and praying, baby. That's all that is. Being optimistic to me comes from looking at evidence, getting information. From that point, the more experiences you have, you are gathering. If you can recalibrate your mind to look at these experiences, no matter, like if you have a fear, like, oh my God, this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen, then you might want to look at that scenario and say, there's some data, there's some feedback, there's some information that I need to like take from that. And next time it says my audio went mute. Am I still mute? Somebody just said I'm muted. Am I still muted? Let me see. Am I muted? Am I muted? Somebody give me something. Somebody, please. Did I enjoy my time on Army Wives? I did. It was no, I'm not muted. Okay. I'm good. All right, cool. Justin, it's just you, man. No, I'm kidding. What's up, Justin? Oh, Bobcat. So over time, you start to then get evidence from these experiences that you have, and now you're able to say, okay, cool. So as you navigate the world and different things that surface, you're able to then come into it with the arsenal of tools and evidence and information that you're like, all right, cool. I'm not going to sit here and stress about it. So situations become manageable. I'm not going to say they become easy, because we don't know what the future holds, but it becomes manageable. And it's all based on you being present and gathering. And that's what I've spent the last 21 years of my life doing. Is you know how much time I spent and put energy into this thought process of like, man, my life, I'm never going to have a job. I'm never going to be able to, meet somebody. I'm never going to be able to have kids. I'm never going to be able to, walk amongst quote unquote normal people. I'm never going to be able, blah, 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 blah. You name it. I was never going to be able to do it. And I spent so much time and energy focused on that narrative. And then what eventually happened is I stopped focusing on the big picture and I just said, let me just celebrate my today, my moments in this day. That changed my focus. But the more experiences that I kept having was, I was 19 when I was hurt, when I was 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And I would like talk to somebody, that I was interested in. And I would get a little bit of, okay, there's a little positive feedback there. You know what I'm saying? Like I get a little positive feedback there. Like, okay. All right. So guess what? That's feedback. Now that tells me the next time I go out in public, one, I can be amongst normal people, right? Like I can function because I clearly have a lot of experience and data that has told me that, no one's going to sit here and like say, get away from us. No one's done that. People are like, nah, like come be in our space, be part of our world. When I approached someone that I was interested in, I was able to identify like if that was actually a match. It was never about like, oh my God, your scars. No, it became if it worked from a personality standpoint, from an interest standpoint, like that's what it was about. So life became manageable because I had so much data where I started speaking. Okay, cool. Like people gravitate to what I do and what I have to say. So there's data. I should just keep doing this. And so, I could tell you that if you approach it that way, when COVID happened and everybody's lives were turned upside down, right? But for me, obviously, my life came to a halt because from a speaking standpoint, there was no traveling. There was no being in front of people speaking. That was not going to happen. And guess what happened? I was like, all right, cool. And people in my world were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? And obviously so. That was everybody's reality. But I was like, you know what? That's all right. It's all good. We'll figure this out. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out how to use like this microphone. I'm gonna figure out how to use this camera. I'm gonna see if I can use this laptop. I'm gonna see if I can get some lighting. Maybe I could do some virtuals. And even the agents that I was working with at the time, I was like, hey, is there like virtuals? And they're like, nah, that's not a thing. And I was like, well, I mean, let's put it out there and just see. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one saying this, but all of a sudden, guess what? COVID for me, from a professional standpoint, it was the busiest I had ever been. Like the convenience of being home and being able to have these connections and these conversations with people, like it was dope. Now, life allowed me to be able to show up in that scenario and not make it harder than it was already, right? We know what COVID was. Like it was hard to go through that. Instead, I was able to pivot. And hell, I had COVID and I was in my house and I was doing a virtual. I mean, so like, again, I think that's a very long answer to your question, but I think the more data and the more you're able to show up to situations and actually say, okay, what's the takeaway here? What am I learning from this? The more evidence, the more data. And I keep using those words because we live in a very a data-driven world now. Everybody is gathering data. And I think that, it's a word that a lot of people utilize or hear pretty frequently. So I'm like, we equally as human beings have to look at ourselves as brands that are collecting data, not just the big companies that we know, not just brands that we know. We ourselves are collecting data every single day. And at some point, you got to pay attention to a lot of this data that maybe this person or this thing that's in your life no longer serves you. At some point, you can't go against the data. You can't go against the evidence. You might have to, sort of set up boundaries with that, with that thing, whatever that thing is. Or, hey man, this worked for me. Maybe I should keep trying that. Maybe I should keep leaning into that because there's data and evidence that support me leaning into that. So I think for me, life has become manageable, or it's manageable from when tough situations present themselves because I have a lot of data. I have a lot of um, I had a lot of evidence that I've gathered over the last 21 years. And so I don't really get shaken by things, um, because I trust. So anyways, listen, this was a lot of fun. I don't know who really tuned in the entire time. I thought I was going to talk for 15, 20 minutes. No, I did not. I spoke, at least it says I've been on here for 45 minutes. So I'm going to jump off now. Listen, I would encourage all of you, if you want me to really speak on something, if you have questions, that I would say, whatever platform that you're on, just send them to me and we'll put them all together. And I'm going to start doing this more frequently. I'm also going to invite my buddy Dan on to one of these one day, and we're going to talk about a lot of the cool things that he's doing. And, if you know me personally, Dan is a big figure in my life, and has meant, the world to me, and to my family. So, anyways, listen, love to every single one of you guys. Just sending you love and blessings, no matter what it is, you're navigating in life right now. And just keep your head up. And remember, just kind of pivot your focus, and your energy is going to follow. Celebrate the little victories. Give grace to yourselves and give grace to one another. All right, my friends, you guys be well. To the next time. Peace out. All right. I gotta like hit end and all that stuff. So there's a little bit of a delay here, but you get the point. Ah.